don't wear brown and orange, you don't matter.
Let this be a reminder to you all that this organization will not tolerate failure.
Well, buddy boy, I want you to get excited here.
With the first pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield.
Okay, listen up, people. I'm going to turn you clowns into a football team.
To the best fans, the most patient fans in the league, the Browns are going to win.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
This is the end, beautiful friend.
The end. This is where we are, Kevin.
This is the end.
This is where we are, baby.
Series finale of the Parking Lot Show. We had a good run.
It's not the series finale of the show. It's the end.
But it could be.
It's the unofficial end of the Browns season because, unfortunately, these sad sacks still got to go out and play 2 more games.
And at least one of them is going to be a bloodbath.
No, I think that at this point, they're both going to be embarrassments. Next week is going to be just an absolute rout.
Yeah.
But it's not good. Once again, we were embarrassed. We're officially eliminated from all contention for the playoffs now. That pipe dream is over with. That's not happening at all. Not that I really thought that it was going to happen to begin with.
Right.
I just didn't.
Hope, though.
There's always hope, and if there's a little bit of hope, you're like, hey, maybe we can, especially against the Cardinals, you're like, we get to 7-7, you never know anything could happen. I thought it was going to be tough to get by Baltimore. My only kind of hope with Baltimore was that at that point they had everything all locked up and maybe they arrest Lamar Jackson because I don't know exactly how they were going to stop him. But it doesn't matter because it's all a moot point because we didn't stop anybody on the Cardinals.
When you say it out loud, it sounds really bad.
No, it sounds really, really bad. Kevin, you were a little bit busy this weekend.
So I was tied up.
You had some things going on.
Some sporting events.
But when you were able to check in and see how things were going, you texted me.
I did.
And you said, bro, how are you losing to the Cardinals?
It's a valid question.
My only response was they've scored more points than we have.
And you have to keep in mind, at the time, I was watching North Carolina's men's basketball team
get crushed to Wofford.
They didn't get crushed, but they lost to Wofford.
Well, still,
fell out of the top 25 for the first time in 5 years.
That's the same level of beating that the Browns just took because we lost to the 3-9 Cardinals. They just lost 6 games in a row. They have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and I'm going to make it official now. I'm going to say this. I've been positive. I've been trying to be. I've been as lenient, I guess, as I could possibly be in going forward and looking at the Browns and looking at this team and specifically looking at the coaches. But it's time. The kitchen is closed, Kevin.
Closing it down.
Closing down the kitchen.
We're past last call?
We're past it. It's time to renovate the kitchen because this guy just got flat out embarrassed.
So here's the real question then. If you're going to renovate the kitchen, do you really think you're going to get nice marble counters, some stainless steel appliances, or are you just going to get some Formica in the discount bin?
Well, according to you, the chances that we're going to get Formica are high because I think that we're going to go down a certain road that you're not a fan of. No. But before we get to that, I haven't seen a Cleveland Browns coach get out-coached this bad in a very long time. And we've had some really bad coaches here in Cleveland. I haven't seen a game plan put together like that since Maurice Carthon, who was a joke of an offensive coordinator who I'm pretty convinced, made up his entire playbook with crayons and Xanax. That's how he put his offensive plan together. That's what I think. crayons and Xanax. And I think that was the same thing that happened this week. Maybe.
I'm surprised you think that there was a plan this week.
No, maybe just the Xanax. I don't know. Maybe no crayons even.
They left the crayons behind and just brought the Xanax.
It was embarrassing to even watch what these guys were doing. Kitchens was just outcoached all the way around on both sides of the ball. I don't know what the defense was doing.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Wilkes was even thinking. I mean, at one point we're rushing 3 guys and we're dropping 8 into coverage against a rookie who runs. What are you doing out there? The whole thing was a joke. They made Kenyon Drake, who is at best an average NFL running back. At best, his ceiling at best is average.
I don't even know who this is.
And they just exactly. That's exactly my point.
I'm not a massive.
He's probably
NFL
on the
fan.
waiver wire right now in every fantasy league in this country.
I need some help. Do you mind if I just I'm gonna need my phone back.
No.
Okay.
I guarantee you he's on the waiver wire, but we just made him look like Al Bundy. And we looked like Spare Tire Dixon.
Ted Bundy?
Not the murderer. Not the serial killer, although he killed us.
See? You gotta keep with me here.
It was ridiculous to watch everything that we saw on the offensive side, everything that we saw on the defensive side. And then, of course, the coup de grace, the thing that killed it all, was Jarvis Landry going after the coach on the sidelines.
Is that what killed it, though?
No, it's absolutely what killed it. Because a little bit later on, just a couple minutes later, Freddie went over there. OBJ and Landry are sitting next to each other, and Freddie went to talk to him kind of like hey, let's make amends. Give me some dap. Let's pound this out, whatever. And no.
Yeah.
They looked away from him. They didn't acknowledge that he was standing there. And it was the two of them both completely ignoring him. And when that happens,
you've lost the entire locker room.
You've lost everything.
Yeah.
And you could tell because players quit in this game.
Are you blaming that on Landry, though?
No, I'm not blaming it on Landry. No.
I thought you were saying that's on Landry.
No. I think. Do I think that it was professional what he did the second time around when Kitchens came up to him?
Right.
No.
Right.
It was a little. But you have to understand the frustrations of the guys on this team.
No, absolutely.
And for him to yell at Kitchens, and all he was saying was, "Give me the freaking ball." Because I don't know what kind of game plan we had set up. Again, long developing routes. This Todd Monken. Oh my God, I don't have words that I can use on this show to describe what I really think of this man. I don't get it. Nothing was working. You're going away from everything that is your strength and focusing on all the things that are your weaknesses. We saw this a couple of weeks ago. We play a defense that has the worst rushing defense in the NFL, and we're throwing the ball. Yeah. We give them 4 carries and a half between the NFL's leading rusher and the guy who led the NFL in rushing 2 years ago. We give him 4 carries in 1 half.
Yeah.
Now we come up against the worst passing defense in the NFL. And we're not taking advantage of the stars that we have in OBJ, in Landry, in Baker. We're not getting rid of the ball quickly. We're not throwing any slants. We're not doing any of that. We're going deep. These slow plodding routes. And you could just tell everybody just quit. And Kareem Hunt said it after the game. Guys left plays out on the field. And this is when it's even spiraling now because now you've got one player calling out other players. And you can just tell there's absolute chaos in the locker room. I don't think that Kareem Hunt is lying at all.
No.
I mean, it was clear that this team completely quit on Freddie Kitchens because they got out there and they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And here, wait, what? Oh, it's not there.
You got to remember how the fade is.
I forgot it. It doesn't matter. But listen.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't, because it's frustrating me right now.
You're going to want those faders later, though. Just remember.
I just, for me to see that, to see them get out-coached, to see them get outplayed, to see them get beat by a rookie quarterback. We've been beaten by third-string quarterbacks. We've been beaten by backup quarterbacks. Now we're getting beat by rookie quarterbacks. We made Kenyon Drake again look invincible. He looked like Thanos out there snapping his fingers every time he touched the football. And it's ridiculous that happened, and it just kept snowballing. And they didn't do anything to stop it. They didn't make any adjustments. They had 2 penalties. They had a penalty for a delay a game coming off of a timeout, and they took a delay a game on the first play of the second half of the game. How does that happen?
These are good questions.
I cannot stand watching stuff, and I haven't seen it this bad. Everybody's they've been bagging on Freddie and calling him out on all this stuff, and I've been sitting there in the background going, hold on a sec, let's wait. He's a new coach and this and that and blah 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 blah. No, it's week 14. You're in an absolute must-win situation against a really, really bad football team that's lost 6 games in a row, and you go out there and you embarrass yourself. Absolutely embarrass yourself.
It was not a good look,
and
top to bottom.
No,
and I think the getting out coached is one of the few consistent themes from the season. Baker's play has been up and down. He's had the games where he, goes out, steps up in the pocket, gets rid of the ball quick, isn't throwing interceptions, and then he's had some train wreck games. And I think you can say the same about the defense. I think you can say the same about definitely the receivers. The running backs, I think, just don't always get the number of carries they need to see consistent play.
No, not at all. He doesn't get we have the best run. He's the number 1 vote getter for the Pro Bowl. This guy's a monster. He is a monster Chubb. We have a monster Chubb here in Cleveland.
You need to stop.
I will not stop saying that. That's exactly what it is. He's underutilized, but he's the only bright shining star that we have right now.
Right.
You brought up Baker. The more and more I think about this, and the more and more I see this, the more and more I become convinced that all of Baker's struggles this year aren't really on him.
It's what he's hearing. It's what he's being told in terms of coaching.
And what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to be executing. We haven't done the few times this year where we have done what Baker excelled at last year, he's been lights out. Mm-hmm. He's shredded teams. He's gone over 300 yards. He's thrown for multiple touchdowns. He is the Baker that we had last year. But that's only been a handful of times. Every other time, it has been this basket case of a playbook that is not working, goes against the grain of every shred of common sense, and plays to all of our weaknesses, and especially Baker's weaknesses.
Right.
Now, you couple that with the fact that most quarterbacks in the NFL go through a little bit of slump in their second year. Yes. Because defensive coordinators have time for them. Here's our guests. We'll take a pause. We're going to call in. All right, my man. Hey, there we go. Look, he's got a professional microphone and everything.
This is ridiculous.
Look at this guy.
Work, baby.
All right, first and foremost, Pastor Sean, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, man? Appreciate it. It's good to see you. Good to be on and talk about this team that makes me cry every Sunday. So.
Well, me too. First and foremost, we need to know specifically how to pronounce your last name properly because I've butchered it about 10,000 times.
Bro, welcome to my life and the future of my eternity. It's Gaida.
Gaida.
Polish doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it's Gaida.
I'm good with it. Well, we're just gonna go with Pastor Sean if you're cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever.
Pastor Sean's good. The original CSU dog from way, way, way back in the day. I think that it's fantastic that I'm not only talking to you right now and that you're on the show because you and I have been communicating with each other for like 15 years, easily 15 years. Like this goes way, way back.
Listen, no one ever can say that we are not true fans because we we've been at it for a long time, and we're actually a part of history. If you remember, our dear friend Soup, who pretty much got what's his face fired.
Oh yeah, to go root for Buffalo. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
No, because that was a historic moment, and he's probably watching right now, laughing at it. It's
Brett,
just
right? His first name Brett?
His name is Brett. Yeah, he's what? So Brett, I mean,
sure.
Yeah, come on, man, you can join in too here. It's been rough. It really has been rough for us, over the years, and once again, we're finding ourselves disappointed. We had all of this talent, we had all of this hope, and once again, it's dashed. Where do we go from here? Like, what do we do?
Man, listen, I've been telling a lot of friends, because obviously I live in South Carolina, which
you're down here with me, baby.
yeah. So congratulations. We by the way, we have just totally sucked about this whole getting together and having a beer. I think I've owed you one since I was like 22. So
it'll happen. We'll make this happen. I promise. One way or another.
We will. But being in South Carolina, obviously, people are just huge Browns fans and don't give you any crap at all for being a Browns fan. You never ever hear that at all. No, but I've had a lot of questions about this. Like, what do you do? And here's the problem. I've been saying it the whole season. You've got a head coach who is new, who is trying to run Monken's offense, who is not new. And Monken's offense, if you think back to the Tampa Bay last year, they're a long distance, let plays set up. You need time, deep routes. That is not what this team's built around. Baker Mayfield, that's not his strength.
No.
He can throw a great deep ball when he has time, but our offensive line doesn't have the ability. You got guys like OBJ who are great, in downtown, but really OBJ's skill set is quick slants, quick in and out patterns, like precise patterns, get open,
absolutely,
burn people. Landry's the same way. He's put him in the slot, he'll own people. Njoku is a tight end who needs to run under routes, and you've got Kareem Hunt who comes out of the backfield to go and blow people's minds as almost another receiver. And our offense that we're calling isn't built to that. And I think even more than that, Freddie Kitchens is young, but I think he does have some chops. The problem is he's calling an offense that doesn't suit his team, and he needs to have the guts to just either get rid of Monken and say, I'm going to run my offense and bring somebody in who can do the offensive coaching during the week, and then he can call his plays, or he needs to get out of the way and he needs to get Dorsey to let some guys in who can set the play up long distance, spend some money in the trenches, and that's the only way the offense is going to get fixed, because we have so much star power, so many great players, but the problem is we don't have the schematic needs of players to do what we need to do. That's why the offense has faltered like it has over and over and over and over again.
Let me ask you, don't you think, and I completely agree with just about everything that you said because you're spot on with it. Don't you think at some point, though, as Freddie Kitchens as the coach, he has to realize that this is what's happening, that things are not working, the fit is not there. We've talked on the show here the past couple weeks about, square pegs and round holes and things just not working. Doesn't he? Yeah. It ends with him. He has to be the guy to step up and say, you know what, Todd, I appreciate everything that you're doing, but I'm in control of this. Everything that you're doing is wrong. We can't have this. We can't keep trying to do this over and over and over again because clearly it's not working, and he's not doing that. What does that tell you about him as a coach and going forward? Is that the guy that you want to have in charge of this team now? Do you want him there, or do you have to start seriously considering replacing Freddie? Which I'll be honest, I don't want to do, and I know that you don't want to do. You don't want to do that either. It's the same thing with this team: rinse and repeat, New coach, fire him. New coach, fire him. And then you bring in new staffs and new schemes and new offense and new defense. We can't have that. I know that you get sick of it, but what do we do now? Clearly, Freddie has put himself in a terrible position.
Yeah. So I'm a pastor, so lead people and build teams, and you build teams of people who don't necessarily get paid a lot or have to give immense hours of sacrifice for the sake of other people. And I think that should translate in the football world and just doesn't. And part of that problem is because you've got the wrong people sitting in the wrong seats on the bus. He's the head coach. He has a plan that he wants to execute, but the problem is he's allowed other people to be in the seats that don't need to be in the seats. And so one way that even we lead in the church world is to say, like, hey, if you're not on the bus, like if you're not in the right seat in the bus, then you need to go find the new bus. And I think that's the biggest problem, I would say, with where the team is right now. I think Freddie Kitchens is a guy who could do it, who could be successful. But, some things we've got to be okay with Browns fans is he has to have some time to season, and he has to have some time to work out his plan. But he also has to have the freedom to put the people he wants in the right seats. And he can say at every single press conference, hey, we're just learning, we're young, there's high expectations, we know who we are, all those things. But the reality is he's got a scheme he's not ready to call. He's got a defensive coordinator who doesn't have, Myles Garrett is incredible, but he's gone for the year.
That hurt. That hurt.
Absolutely. And you're playing with people who are not in the right seat in the bus. And that's the big problem is personnel. And so my thing with Freddie Kitchens, the reason I'm willing to give him a little more time, begrudgingly, I'll say, is because he's got to have time to put the right people in the right seats, and he doesn't have that opportunity right now. I think Dorsey is incredible. Keep him there, but give him a chance to build some trenches. The biggest problem we saw in Arizona last week, and that I hate to say this, my brother and my father are flying up from Greenville, where I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, to go to the game. The biggest problem is we don't have anyone on the defensive line because everyone is hurt or suspended. And when you have a defensive line of three nobodies and Ogunjobi, he can't play 70 plays a game. He's 320 pounds.
Right.
This isn't going to work.
You need those fresh bodies rotating in and out of there.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be a strength. Well, Vernon got hurt. Garrett got suspended. That took so much steam out of this team. We haven't been the same since that Pittsburgh game, unfortunately. And, Freddie doesn't have the opportunity to have the right people in the right seats. And so that's why I'm saying, I think we need to give him a little more time. If there's one thing we've known, the last 15 years, the main issue with the Browns has been there's been no continuity whatsoever. And
at all.
Have continuity. You can't take steps, and you got to be willing to sacrifice a little bit to get that continuity in and the chemistry built.
Well, let me ask you this then, because I'm thinking hypothetically. I've been with you. I've been trying to be as hopeful as I can and patient as I can with Freddie, and I've been preaching that to people. Listen, this is I think a lot of people who were expecting the Super Bowl were just a little bit too excited. You can't blame Browns fans. We got this firepower. We've never had a team with this much talent before, but I tried to warn people, hey, let's temper that a little bit. I don't think anybody expected it to be this bad, but going forward, as I brought up earlier in the show, when Jarvis Landry is barking at Freddie on the sidelines there, and then him and OBJ aren't looking at him when he tries to talk to him, and Kareem Hunt is talking after the game that guys quit. When you hear that guys are quitting out on the field and guys are yelling at the coaches, to me, that is a surefire sign that the coach has lost the locker room. And if that's the case, what is there anything that Freddie can do to get that locker room back? Can he win these players back over somehow? Because if he can't, and they've all just decided, look, we're not going to get it done with this guy, or we're not going to play for this guy, he's kind of like a dead man walking at that point. There's no, I don't know what you do. I don't know how you get past that.
I think, though, Sean, to expound on one of your points in talking about what you do, from a church perspective and building kind of the community that you have there, if you look, and again, I'm the Wisconsin guy, so I'm going to make another Packers connection here. But look at what Reggie White did with the Packers as far as a leader, and again, was not at all shy about his faith as part of it. Minister of Defense and all that.
For sure.
And I think to your point about what does Freddie need to do, Freddie needs one guy that can do what Reggie White did to rally the team. If the team isn't going to rally for Freddie and do the things that he's trying to get, he needs one convert who can convert the rest of the team. Yeah,
that's actually exactly what I was going to say. I think, you talk about guys who are in leadership, and the way, what defines a good leader from somebody who's just loud is the ability for them to bring other people along and have them be followable. And so what he's got to do, for me, it's just leadership 101. You've got to find the guys who the rest of the people that you are seeking to bring in will follow, and you got to win that guy. And so, that's obviously going to be Baker. That's obviously going to be Jarvis Landry. And you probably need to catch a wild card in there. Find a younger guy on defense, get a Denzel Ward, get him in. And it sounds kind of crazy, but sign Schobert, get him in here long term, and then utilize him to also speak to the other half of the team as well, because he's not going to win 53 guys back. He's just not going to.
No, and I tell you what, you
mentioned and then 20.
You mentioned a great name too. I'm terrified at the thought of the Browns not re-signing Schobert, and they haven't even entered into negotiations with him, and they're already talking about a pretty big contract, which he more than deserves. He's definitely he's going to the Pro Bowl again. This guy is having an unbelievable season, and you're gonna have to pay him, because if you don't pay him, somebody else will. And I think that losing a guy like Schobert is crippling to this defense. I know the Christian Kirksey is a huge leader, but he's missed a lot of time with injuries the past few years, and you don't know if you can count on him. And unfortunately, you don't know where Garrett comes into this mix. I mean, he came out like a force this year, but there was something a little bit different about Myles Garrett. I mean, he had the penalties early on in the year. He seemed to play with a little bit of, I think he was a little bit angry because of the way that he played last year. I think that he was tamed, and he didn't like being tamed, so he kind of went a little extra this year, and obviously he went way extra in the Pittsburgh game, and that cost him, and that cost us. So I don't know where he can lean, or if you can lean on him exactly. I completely agree with you. Somebody has to be there and step up. And with a very, very young team, which we still have, I think, the third youngest roster in the NFL, it's hard to pick out. It might be the second. I knew it was. We were there. Yeah. It's hard to find that leader. There is no defined guy. There's no Ray Lewis on this team. There is no somebody who you just galvanize around and go, follow him. This is the guy, and we're going to go run through this tunnel. So, Sean, it's going to be a tough road for Freddie. I don't know if he can overcome this. I want to believe in him. I want to believe that it's possible. I definitely think that we got to dump Todd Monken, because there's no continuity there with this offense. I think that he's got to go. If he's going to go on this road of trying to win the players back and having a good offseason and saying, hey, let's just forget about last year, start everything over, you got to start that offense that you had with Baker last year. You got to bring that back. Those short throws, those slants, moving the ball quickly, running the 2-minute offense, feeding Chubb the ball and using the run to set up the pass. A lot of basic stuff, football 101 stuff, but stuff that we just weren't doing. We didn't have going this year. I think you have to establish all of that, and you need to establish it early too. It happens right after the draft, in OTAs, in mini camps, in training camps. OBJ wasn't in minicamp. I think Jarvis missed some time in minicamps, early in the year. This needs to be an all-team effort right from the beginning, that you start in like March, April, before the draft, right after the draft, and carry on through a season and have everybody on the same page all at once. That's the only way I see this working, if we're going to find a way to keep Freddie and be successful at the same time.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you said is, where we're going back to, is that continuity has to happen. And listen, these guys have to understand, this is the National Football League. There's no game. There are 70 players who are freak of nature, unbelievable athletes who were the best of the best when they got to college. Like, these are NFL teams.
Oh yeah.
You can't walk into a game and just think, oh, okay, well, we got a lot of talent. Look at the paper or look at the roster on the paper, and we're going to be fine. Listen, everybody has gifting and is operating in gifting and is doing the best of what they can. But if you're not willing to grind and work a little extra and a little harder, that's what makes champions. Like, that's what makes teams and entire organizations succeed. And I think the biggest thing, when you're talking about getting rid of Monken, like, the biggest thing I see, and I hate to even say this out loud because it just drives me nuts, but the reason that the Ravens are doing what they're doing is because Greg Roman has built an offense that is built around their star player, his strength and his abilities.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that. And I just can't understand why in the world we would allow that to happen.
Yeah, you have to think about, you hit a great point there, because you had Joe Flacco in Baltimore, a guy who won them a Super Bowl, who had a lot of success, and Harbaugh says, we're going to let you go. We're going to let you go. We're going to change.
Thought he was crazy.
Yeah, he almost got fired for it. He was on the brink of being fired for doing all of that. But that takes guts to do. And he changes everything. And look at them. They look unstoppable. We're going to lose this game next week, 58-0.
Oh, my father, my 68-year-old father, and my younger brother are going. And here's what's really hard. for the last 15, 20 years of my life, I jumped at every opportunity to go to a game. And we went and actually saw the game when they went 0-16 against the Giants. My whole family, I took my kids and everybody, we all went to this game. And I was more excited for that than I was the opportunity to go see Baltimore play. And I hope I'm proved wrong. Anyone who knows me outside of this 10-minute conversation we've had would know that I'm a diehard. I mean, I have that helmet right there, and I actually wore it on stage one time while I was preaching.
Oh, don't you worry. I don't question you one bit. I know where you're at. I know, I know where your loyalties lie, baby.
But man, if somebody offered me a plane ticket and a freeway up to Baltimore or to Cleveland to watch them play Baltimore, I'd have a hard time saying yes, because it's just that's how destroyed I think the Cleveland fan base is right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, man, everything looks so good. How in the world have we gotten this far, like just falling apart like this? And there's just no hope in the fans of Cleveland right now. And I think that's getting back to Kareem Hunt and those guys. That's part of what now I think the team is experiencing. Kareem Hunt said he's from the Cleveland area. He's grew up a Browns fan. Like, he said the things that we're all thinking. It's like we can see.
For sure.
You could see the second half of that Arizona game. You could tell the team gave up. I remember telling a friend of mine when Nick Chubb scored his first touchdown, I said, well, at least somebody on that team cares.
Yeah.
Like, at least someone cares about this team.
Oh, he balled out too. He didn't stop. He's just a monster. And you hate to see it wasted too, because running backs have the shortest life in the NFL. And what is Chubb going to get you going forward? 4, maybe, if you're lucky, 5 more solid years. If you're going to win some championships with Nick Chubb, you got to do it now. You got to start getting that groundwork laid right now, because he turns 28, 29 years old. That's it. The tread is off those tires. And I mean, the guy's dynamic, and you want to see him make plays on a championship caliber team. And I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see what we pull together. I'm with you. I want to be optimistic, but at the same time, I'm also with you, man. I don't even know. Like, I'm wondering if I should just go do something else this Sunday, because I already know how this game is going to go. I don't have any desire to watch it. I kind of have to, because I do this every week. But man, it's going to be tough. I'm going to be flipping the channel a lot. I can feel it.
Yeah, it's funny. This is the first week, literally since the season, or since 1999 when they came back. I was prepping for our staff Christmas dinner, and so I was cooking and back off the grill and back and forth. And so I probably watched about 75% of the game, and I didn't realize what was happening. And at one point, we were down like 14 or 17 toward the end of the game, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to cut it off and take care of what I need to cut off.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how much more I enjoyed the night. I hate even saying that out loud.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, I think what needs to happen is I would do everything in my power to draft tackles and sign everybody, make a big free agent splash. The window is short and closing if something doesn't change drastically. Get an offensive line that can block somebody, and re-sign Schobert. For the love of God, re-sign Schobert, and hope that people grow up and mature and that things change. It's the only hope we have.
Well, as Star Wars says, rebellions are built on hope, so I hope that that's what we can do. We can get a little something going. Sean, thank you, man, so much for calling in and being here with us. This was an absolutely fantastic call. I'm glad you were here. And please, let's make sure that we not only get that beer, but we do this again. And going forward, maybe into next year, let's have you come in and just do this live, man, because I will rap with you like this for an hour. We can keep doing this all day, man.
Hey, I'd love all of those things to occur. My in-laws live 12 minutes from where you are, so that would be a very easy thing to do. So I'd love all those things to happen, man. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. Thanks, brother, and we'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
Go Browns.
That's it.
Take care.
That was good stuff there.
Pastor Sean, everybody. Pastor Sean.
Saying all the things you're thinking, but in English.
In words. I don't see. That's why I'm kind of like, hold on. Let's give him a crowd cheer. We gotta have. We'll give him a crowd cheer for Pastor Sean. Before we say anything, I know that he's better than me, and I know that's what all of you guys are saying right now. I'm sure everyone's like, why don't we just have Sean do the show and many other things? Screw you guys. No, it's my show. So no, it'll be me.
Well, no one, at least in chat, has said that yet. We've been having fun on other topics. But to get back to earlier in the show, the time that we actually really started doing the show.
Okay, the second time.
Remember earlier when I forgot to hit the button?
I do remember when you forgot to hit the button earlier.
So our most loyal viewer, P-Dubs, of course, here to whose actual name I will never use anymore. Like
you can't call him Phil.
No, he's like he's been P-Dubs the whole season. I can't just start calling him Phil now.
Well, see, I've only known him as Phil, so like if I saw him, I couldn't be like, "Hey, what's up, P-Dubs?" Well, it would be weird for me.
It is what it is. Anyway, so he's brought up a few good points here. Circling back to my favorite thought of the day here, this one right here. Do you think bringing in a new coach will automatically get OBJ and Jarvis 1,500 yards and Baker looking great?
I don't. It depends on the coach. Like what like what we've talked about, like what Sean and I just discussed. There in that segment, you have to have an offense that plays to the strengths of those players. Do I think that can happen? Hell, yes, I do. Mm-hmm. I absolutely think that it could happen. If you look at the success that the Browns had last year, specifically Baker Mayfield, again, if he's getting rid of the ball quickly, 2-3 seconds out, quick drops, quick one read, fire, doing the slants, which is what OBJ and Jarvis Landry excel at. There's no telling what this team could do or how powerful that offense could actually be, especially when you mix in a guy like Nick Chubb who can churn out the yards on the ground, and then you cut the top of the defense off with a deep shot, and you have guys who can do that. Absolutely, I believe that we have the ability and the talent to get that done and to see numbers like that. Is it going to happen? I have no idea, but do I think it could? Absolutely. These guys are that talented. I absolutely think that they're that talented, and I believe in them. I don't believe in the coaching right now, though, so that's how I answer that.
Another question, though. Is it a coincidence that the guy performing his best on the team shuts his mouth and does his job? All the guys talking and making noise are the ones underperforming.
It's a good point. I'll say this. I get frustrated when you hear the guys chirping and you hear the guys talking. But to be fair to OBJ, he's been great this year. Kevin, you and I have brought it up a number of times. Odell Beckham Jr. is a fiery guy. He is an explosive personality. He has been his whole career.
And you want him to be.
And you do want him to be. You want it to be controlled, and you want it to be for good.
And productive.
But he's kept it very, very quiet. He hasn't voiced his. I'll give him credit. I'm not going to sit here and pound on the guy and say, hey, look, you're being a distraction. I think that other people have been making a lot of distractions on his behalf this year. Mm-hmm. Oh, he wore a watch. Oh, his shoes. And oh, he's telling other people to come get me. I don't even know if that crap is true or not.
It's because they want him to be the distraction.
Well, I think absolutely.
They want him to be the bad guy.
Yeah, they got to pull him off the field and make him change his visor because it's the wrong color. Meanwhile, every other guy in the NFL gets to wear whatever color visor they want. They've been picking at him and poking him all year to try to get him to flip out, and I'm not going to do what everybody thinks I'm going to do, freak out. And he didn't. He hasn't had that moment, and I think that's to his credit. Mm-hmm. Now, you did see Jarvis Landry pop off, and again, I think that's born out of frustration. And I don't like that. I don't like Kareem Hunt, saying that guys are quitting out on the field. But like Sean said, and it's a really good point, he's from Cleveland. He knows this team. He's saying what all of us are thinking. He's on the field with them. And if he sees that, he's going to say, hey, this is what I saw. So I don't like all of the chirping, but I don't think that it's been quite that bad. I agree that Nick Chubb is a guy who gets the rock, totes the rock, hands the rock to the ref, does it all over again, doesn't say a word to anybody, goes home, gets rest, eats meat, and does it all over again the following week. That's what I think happened. It's the protein, Kevin, for crying out loud. My good God, man.
But when you say it,
Jesus, man.
Now that I've successfully derailed you, we're gonna move on.
Thank you.
You've had enough. Hold on, I gotta go back.
What's wrong with you?
Where did we end up here?
Like a caveman.
Let's see. We already covered that. We covered that. We
Did we cover that? You stopped me from my rant just to sit here and stutter and stall? Come on, man.
Well, because I scrolled down to the bottom to reply to Sean, and then I had to find back where we were in the chat.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. So you did get the chat.
There's so much chat going on that I've got to keep up with.
Well, I love chatter. See, I told you. I told you.
P-Dubs has a couple more things in here, but I do want to get to one of the things Rob brought up. He says that this season should be known as the kitchen's sink. And then we got
I like it.
We got a lot more suggestions once we started trying to name the season. Okay. If you can't take the heat, get the F out the kitchen.
Okay.
Manager Freddie, runners to the kitchen because the runners actually show
up. Of course.
I
still like kitchen sink.
That was very good.
Kitchen sink, I think, is the winner so far.
Rob says he doesn't see OBJ coming back next year.
Well, here's the thing. I do want to touch on that too, because there's been all kinds of rumors. There's been innuendo. People saying that OBJ wants a trade. Here's the most important part to remember about this. That doesn't matter because he has a contract. And it's not like he comes up as a free agent, after next season or the year after that. Right. He's got like 3-4 years left on his contract. Yeah. So at this point, you find a nice way to say, shut up and play football. That's too bad. You do it nicely. You don't, you know what I mean? Because you have to with a guy of that caliber. Right. And he's not wrong for a lot of things that he's upset about. He's not wrong. He has valid points. So you need to find a way to, cater to what he's saying.
The conversation starts with, you're not going anywhere, and then becomes, how can we make you happy here?
Right.
Because you don't want him to be miserable and become a cancer in the locker room and all of those things. So it starts with, you're staying.
And here's the thing. I don't think that...
But we value you. We want you to be happy and productive here.
And I don't think OBJ is a cancer in the locker room at all. I know a lot of people have said... No. But I mean, I think a lot of people have said that he's got that reputation, or he had it in New York, and people label... And if you talk to people who played with him in New York, everybody all says the exact same thing, and that's OBJ was a great teammate. He was a great teammate to play with, to play for. He was great in the locker room. And I've seen nothing to make me think otherwise while he's been here. No. In many, many ways, I think that he's gotten a bad rap in his career for some things that have happened. And unfortunately, that happens. Like in Myles Garrett's case, people are always going to remember Myles Garrett for what happened with the helmet. Right. They're good or bad. He could win the Walter Payton Man of the Year award for the next 8 years in a row, and it's not going to matter because he's always going to be that asshole that swung his helmet on the field and almost killed that poor guy. And it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I think it's very similar with OBJ. He got into it with I can't remember the cornerback he played for Washington and Carolina. I can't recall his name offhand. But he got into that on the field fight with him, and they were going at it all year, or not all year, all game, like real physical fighting. And then he threw his helmet at the kicking net the one day, and just a few things like that where people were just like, oh, this guy's crazy. And he was playing on a Giants team that sucked, that kept losing, and he was getting upset. And he made a great point, and I think that a lot of people need to think about this. He's established himself as an elite wide receiver. The numbers are all there. Mm-hmm. He's gotten himself some fat contracts. He's gotten paid. He's getting all the money that he could ever want. He's well on his way to going to the Hall of Fame. Once you have those things established as a player, the only thing left for you to do is win.
Right.
That's all you want. You've got the accolades, you've got the numbers, you've got the jacket coming towards you, you've got a big fat bank account, you have anything you could possibly want, and the only thing he wants is to win. And when you're not winning, you start to get frustrated, and I can't blame the guy for being frustrated because when you're that good, you're also that competitive. When you're absolutely the best of the best, you know you can walk out onto the field and beat anyone. And when you don't, oh my God, is it infuriating? It's infuriating for that to happen. So I side with them. I do. I'm not going to sit here, and it makes me mad when I see him drop easy passes. Yes. That upsets me, which he kind of, is wont to do.
Done a little bit.
But I digress. What else do you got?
We got a few things here. Where was that? P-Dubs pointed out Hugh Jackson never lost the locker room. We can. Anyway.
We're going to move right past that one because that take belongs in the lake with Hugh Jackson. How about that?
No, but he also brings up his question from the 20 years of suck.
I was waiting for this one.
Favorite busts, and he's not talking about Katy Perry. That's his entire comment. I'm not adding that on my own. I just want to be clear.
Oh man, Katy Perry. It's never really over, Kevin. It's never really over.
That's.
Oh my goodness. We'll tell that story some other time.
Our social media coordinator apparently missed that.
Oh,
or is trying very hard to miss it.
All right, social media coordinator is on the Katy Perry. Busts.
Yeah.
There's been so many, but there's one that's a great question. There's one that stands out, and I don't even know. He might not even know this one.
Okay. I mean, there are a few that have been brought up here. So
this guy came out of nowhere. He was like a phantom. He was just this legend, and his name was Ben Gay.
I remember Ben Gay.
And Ben Gay was like this. I swear, he was not even real. He wasn't real. He was like the greatest prep running back ever. He was going to be the greatest college running back ever, and in turn was going to be the greatest NFL running back ever. But some things happened, and he smoked some crack or something. I don't know exactly what it was. He had like 8 broken legs. All kinds of stuff happened. The man like never played, but somehow the Browns signed him to a pro contract, and we built this guy up as like Barry Sanders, gonna take over Cleveland. And Ben Gay wound up playing like 5 games for us. He had 1 game. His first game, he came out and it was real. I think I can't remember the stats. This is 20 years ago that this happened. You know, it was probably, he rushed for over like 100 yards and everyone's like, oh my God, Ben Gay, he's the greatest thing ever. The legend is true, blah, 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 blah. And then every time he touched the ball, he fumbled it, and then he was out of the league and is gone. He went back to being a ghost again.
I'm working on calling up these stats here, and they're not great. 16 games
for Ben Gay.
Yes, 51 rushing attempts, 172 yards, 1 touchdown.
Now is that total?
That's his career.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think like 100 of those yards came in the first game that he played.
I'm trying to see if they have a game by game breakdown.
I mean, if you're looking on Pro Football Focus, they'll have a game by game, because I think, and again, this is 20 years ago. Pardon me if I got it wrong, but he did have a great game. Like and everybody was. I remember Cleveland being so charged up for this guy, and then like every time he touched the ball, he fumbled it. He had like 9 fumbles in a row. Hyperbole, obviously. I'm, being ridiculous, but it was. I'd never seen anything like that before, or since. So that, in my 20 years of suck, favorite bust, it's absolutely Ben Gay.
Let's see here.
You couldn't find it?
I'm working on it.
Kevin is feverishly working on getting the Ben Gay stats.
A little slow.
Because this makes or breaks things.
It really does. No, other names brought up in, Peter points out to Johnny. And he does bring up how much of that really is Johnny and how much is the fact that the Browns missed all of the questionable off-field stuff.
Well, here's the thing with Johnny Manziel. I was infuriated when we drafted Johnny Manziel. I didn't want to have anything to do with him for a multitude of reasons, the same as everybody else. But Jimmy Haslam and his infinite wisdom demanded that we draft him. And so we did. And it blew up, and I knew it was going to blow up. Everybody knew it was going to blow up. He didn't even have the skill set to play in the NFL, because his only talent was run around like a crazy person and chuck the ball up to Mike Evans and hope good things happen. And he won a Heisman doing that. So that was never going to work. But Phil with the great question as always. Now I'm thinking about Ben Gay. I'm going to be dreaming about Ben Gay. Not the sports cream, by the way. No. There were plenty of those jokes that were made too.
I don't get it.
The sports cream? You've never heard of Ben Gay, the sports cream? Come on, Kevin. Kevin doesn't understand humor sometimes.
So incredibly weak.
Did you find the stats or not?
Well, I'm working on fixing the switch with the crash, but
all right, never mind. Moving along.
I almost have the stats. And then I'm assuming this is another player, the kicker. When he popped up with an injury dating back to high school in year 2.
I can't say that I know who that was.
That's just what he said.
Oh, I don't know either. Wow, I'm kind of stumped on that one. All right, Kevin, what else do we have on deck as we move along forward here? Along forward, did I say that right? Is that even a thing?
No, definitely not.
I don't know how to use my words. I'm going to get Sean back to do the show permanently. He clearly does a better job than I do. But I'm with everybody else right now, Kevin. The frustration level of this team is it's bad, and I know that I certainly, like I mentioned, I don't want to watch these last couple of games. Yeah. It's going to be difficult to do. We have a couple more shows to knock out, though, and we're sticking with our mantra. The Browns may suck, but we don't. We're still having all kinds of fun here, baby.
Especially remember to hit that go live button.
The live button it's helpful. If you could actually get us on the air, that's...
It's just the internet.
We're going to have to bump your title down a little bit. Maybe...
It's just the internet.
It's more than that, though. It's, the interwebs. There's a lot to it. It's a very convoluted process, Kevin.
It's a series of tubes.
It's a lot of
ins, a lot of outs.
It's very complicated, Jackie.
You said it yourself.
They're gonna kill that poor woman. All right, moving along.
We had something. There was something I was trying to get to, but now I don't remember what it was.
Well, I know that we usually do the picks, and I'm gonna make this real easy. We're getting killed.
Yeah.
I think that should probably be our Twitter poll. Our Twitter poll should definitely be how many points will the Browns lose by, and the choices should be 20, 30, or 40.
Mm-hmm. Those are good numbers.
Because it's going to be at least 20. I have no clue how this team beat the Baltimore Ravens. I've talked about that a couple of times. I still don't. I don't know how we beat that team. We're still the last team that beat them. And I don't know how that happened. There's no chance we're going to beat them. And more than likely, because of the way that the wheels have flown off of this car and things have imploded on this team and these players, we're probably going to go to Cincy and we're going to lose that game too. I don't see anybody showing up for it. Nobody wants to play. Cincy sucks. We're not playing spoilers. There's no motivation for it whatsoever. Nobody's going to want to get hurt in the last game of the year. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Baker Mayfield talked about it briefly. I think he said the right things. He said, hey, this is where now that the playoffs are over, this is where you find out what you're made of, what kind of men we have in the locker room. And he's right. He is right. You want to play. Nobody wants to look at the game film and see a bunch of guys who quit. And I certainly hope that a lot of these guys, like Sean said, hey, you're in the NFL. You're getting paid a lot of money to play this game. Go do your job. Go play. Go play at your best effort. If that's going to happen, do more things. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't have any faith that it's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they surprise me. But we'll see. But it's not going to happen next week, man. It's not going to happen. It's going to be bad. There will be blood.
There will be.
There will be blood.
Well, these things happen. Rob says his kids are watching. You should give him a shout out.
Oh, hey, Rob, you have like 20 kids, man. I can't remember all of your kids' names. Wow. He's got a lot of kids, man.
And now they all feel the same amount of not at all special.
No, they are special. I mean, like, I could bring up a Facebook post, and if I would have known that his kids were watching what's going on, guys, we used to be neighbors. So,
Rob, I personally want to say hello to your kids. I haven't met any of them. I don't know their names either.
They're
but
great
I still
kids.
like to say hello and thank you for watching.
They've been trick-or-treating with my kids. Thank you guys for watching. I forgot what camera I'm looking at. I don't even know how to do this show anymore. I'm terrible at this.
You're doing great.
No, thank you guys for watching, and please tell all your friends about it, and I'll get your pictures up next week. Yeah, no, thanks for doing it. I'll get you guys up next week or something. I swear, now you're just being a dick on purpose.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll get you
that
up
to the kids.
Great.
What a role model you are.
We'll get you guys up. I promise. Thank you very much for watching. It's much appreciated. Moving along now, Kevin.
I'm not the one swearing at kids.
I didn't. I called you a name because your name is Richard. You're Richard Kevin.
Sure.
That's all you got? No, there's no comeback to that at all?
No, because there's not one even needed because it's that bad.
All right, well, that's all I got, Kevin.
I was really excited. I thought we had a new feature in chat, but it's not actually working.
You don't know how to work that new feature? Is that what the problem is?
Well, it's supposed to tie into the other software, and they're not connecting well. We were supposed to have a Magic 8 Ball that we could ask questions to, and I was really excited about it. But
okay.
You can ask it questions, but it's not responding.
Okay. Well, then you're not going to get anywhere with that. We'll try to get that going for next week.
Maybe.
But and listen, there will be a next week here, guys. So make sure you're tuning in.
There'll be a solo show for
as usual with all of the social media.
Because some of us will be on vacation.
Oh my goodness. As usual with the social media, follow us on, all the Twitters and the feeds and all the good stuff.
right
we got
down
all the
here,
links down here at the bottom.
screen.
Kevin puts it up.
Boom, boom,
like,
boom. The TV's in the way.
Our
Boom,
social
there's that one.
media coordinator is giving me a death glare right now.
Did you say social comedian?
I can't even talk because she's so angry with me at the moment.
She's been looking for a title, and I think social comedian might
Social
be it.
comedian might be it. That could work. We'll see. But yeah, follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us, obviously, on YouTube. YouTube's the golden one.
Be sure to like this video, comment on this video. The live comments in chat help, but also once the video becomes a video and not the live stream, go back and tell us how goofy it was. And be sure to subscribe to the channel as well.
Absolutely subscribe.
You'll get the very latest notifications when you click the bell, so you know exactly when we go live. That's when I actually hit the button.
When you hit the button, when you actually hit the button to take us live.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. I like when you hit that button. That sounds.
You guys
really
all
good.
missed it, but we did a solid 5 minutes of this show.
It was
actually
great.
Streaming it anywhere.
I feel as though I recreated it pretty well.
We did a good job. We hit all the same jokes.
We did. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. As long as the joke
show is completely different
from the 7 o'clock show. The veal is still good though.
And don't forget to tip your waitress.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thank you again to Pastor Sean for joining us. That was a great call. We'll definitely have Sean back on. And all right, boys and girls, come see us again next week. We'll be here. Go Browns.
Your ad can be there. Have a good night, everybody.